Hey everybody, today's video is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in Patreon, the link is in my description. Hey everybody! Okay, so we are going to be testing the Beauty Blender foundation. I've basically kind of sat and thought to myself, well, what exactly, kind of name? It was like the Liquid Lip Bounce Foundation, but I'm just gonna call it the Beauty Blender Foundation because there's been so many names that I've heard about this foundation already that I don't even know anymore. So, as you can tell, there's some new stuff behind me. I'm going to be doing an all new studio tour here again soon. But anyways, okay, so this right here, foundation, obviously the shade that I have is the 1.6. It has 1 fluid ounces, 30 mils, which is quite a bit. Let's see here. The back end of this, it does have a locking mechanism in the back, so right now it's unlocked and now it's locked. Okay, so my only concern with that is that if you're a person that's forgetful like myself, how do you remember if you've locked it or not? So I don't know. Anyways, so I'm going to be reviewing this right here, sponge. I don't necessarily remember the name of this sponge. I will find out, however, and I'll list it in the description. But this right here is the Beauty Blender in comparisons to that. Like, they are, this thing is huge compared to the Beauty Blender. However, the bottom of this Beauty Blender was cut off and everything was cut off. So yeah, don't, accidents happen. Anyway, so, but you can tell it's obviously like a different size. This right here, I call it my makeup orange because it's just orange. They did not have it in another color at Ulta, and it's big and it's orange. And so I always call it my orange or my stress reliever. Anyways, but yeah. So I'm going to, and now with this, obviously you can let your foundation go into kind of like this divot, kind of like pan in the foundation. But I'm just going to do this because I don't like the idea of, because like foundation will get clogged up in there and I don't like that. I'm a clean person. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to do 3 squirts as always. Okay, and let's just see how far this goes. Okay, so I will say, however, that this right here is definitely not as full coverage as I was hoping that it would be. I can still kind of see like blue undertones of of my facial hair, my beard area. So basically most drag queens or most trans women, they usually colorize with that. So basically they'll use like an orange undertones. That way basically it cancels out the blue undertone caused by facial hair. And so therefore whenever you apply your foundation on top, it looks more natural. However, so I'm seeing a lot of the blue undertones around like the dark circles in my eyes, and I see a little bit of redness, especially around like the nose area. And I almost wonder if that might have something to do with the sponge. So I'm going to squeeze the top into the sponge, and there is some foundation coming out on my finger. So that tells me that the sponge is taking up a little bit of the foundation and everything. I'm not seeing a lot come out. However, this right here is a brand new sponge, so it might take some time. So I'm going to do 2 more pumps. and just kind of see where else that goes. And I'm just going to kind of circulate it in this area. Okay, so adding a few more pumps to the foundation, it's definitely gathered up. So I would definitely say that this is definitely more buildable. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily for like your straight on full coverage. Now, however, that might also be because of the sponge that I'm using. So later on, I will definitely be trying it with the beauty blender that I do have to see if that makes a difference. However, I do love the smell of the foundation. The foundation is very, very nice. It kind of reminds me of the MAC Studio Fix foundation. If you've ever tried that, it's good. It's just not vegan, cruelty free. But I do like this. It does remind me of that a lot. I will, however, be watching it quite a bit because I have a tendency of raising my brows a lot. If you're anybody out there that does that, you kind of like subconsciously raise your brow area. So I'm going to be watching to see if it happens to cause any fine lines or anything like that, if it sits in fine lines and it doesn't want to like move. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do my concealer and the rest of my makeup, and then I will be tuning in with the rest of you at the very end of this video to give you my final thoughts. So I'm back to kind of give you my results and my thoughts on the Beauty Blender foundation review. Okay, so what I have noticed, let me grab my mirror. What I have noticed is that it does tend to settle in fine lines. I did, however, whenever I did my concealer, I only powdered underneath the eyes and nowhere else. So the foundation itself it sets on its own. It dries on its own, which is a plus. But if you have oily skin, you're gonna need to powder, obviously. Everything's charming off today. But other than that, when I powdered, I don't really notice any like craziness going on in like the powdered section. I do feel like there is this slight translucence like through here, almost as if the foundation didn't stick. If I had to rate the foundation from 1 to a 10, I would probably give it an 8.5. The way it first goes on, it reminds me of the MAC Studio Fix foundation, which is amazing. However, I did apply it with this sponge and not with an actual beauty blender. So I'll apply it with a beauty blender in my next tutorial. And in that tutorial, I will give you, in a Makeup Mondays video, in that one, I will give you what I think, if it goes on heavier or it looks better with an actual beauty blender versus this sponge right here. Right now, I'm still getting like a slight amount of foundation off on my fingers out of the sponge. So I think the sponge is soaking up the foundation, not so much like the foundation itself. So it's trial and error with products. You just kind of have to see what your thing is. I will, however, say, and I do want to touch on this though, is that when the Beauty Blender foundation was first launched, a lot of people's concerns was that there was not enough shades. I do agree that there needs to be more shades. And I'm not just saying this because, you know, I got attacked on Facebook for almost 2 days about buying the Beauty Blender foundation and everybody you know, the people that were on my Facebook at the time going, why are you supporting a brand that's not making enough shades? And it's like, well, here's the thing. I'm a content creator. I review products, and if you want a company to do something, if you want them, like, example, Jackie Anna, she talked and talked and talked about how there needs to be more shades for those of color, right? Well, I don't think she would have gotten the opportunity to work with Too Faced and to launch more colors if she was not voicing her opinion about it. So my thing is, though, is that as a content creator and as a makeup artist, there has to be a certain number of shades. You can't also expect every single makeup artist in the world to also have a shade that matches every single client that they work for, right? My thing is, though, is that there needs to be more shades. I do know about the controversy dealing with the Instagram post and the pictures not being precisely like filtered or whatever. Personally, I haven't really looked at any of the other shades because I didn't get a PR box. I bought this myself. So even whenever I bought this at the shade 160, 1.60, online, the picture looks like the foundation on the inside was going to be pink. Like, pink. And it did concern me, but I was like, you know what? If it shows up and if it's actually pink, I'll voice my opinion about that. But then when it showed up, I was like, it's not pink. It's a skin tone. It just made me feel like it was pink. I don't know, because of the picture on Sephora and everything and how it looked online. I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at the fact that, yes, there needs to be more shades. Obviously, we already know that Rihanna set a line, like she set a bar for makeup industries, for makeup companies in general, to kind of know, like, there needs to be this certain amount of colors. If you're going to launch a foundation line, you know what is going to be expected of you because Rihanna set the bar. And I feel like here's Rihanna's, here's Beauty Blender's kind of in the middle. And as we know, the controversy with Tarte, where there was like barely any shades of color except for those of white, it's like, really? Like, if you're going to be a cosmetic and brand owner, you got to understand that there's a demographic of people in the community that you have to meet. You cannot be expected to be taken seriously as a company if you are not going to meet the criteria of those in the community. And same with Beauty Blender. Every single person of every single skin type that you can think of today and skin color that you can think of today uses Beauty Blender. And the fact that they launched a foundation shade that doesn't match almost every single person that matches, you know, like it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. If you liked today's video, please make sure to like, subscribe, become the partnership, and if you like today's video, please make sure to like, subscribe, become a part of the Angel Group or Angel Army, however you'd like to say it. I will see you in the next video.